How we doing, people? Hope we're well. We are back, League Judges TV. We're back with the North London podcast. Sean is going to be joining us. Do not worry. He's literally get off the phone at the moment and he's going to jump on. So we've got Henry with us. Henry, how are you, bruv?
Yeah, all good, mate. In the Tottenham world, it's pretty peak at the moment. Getting battered every single week as the fans are singing. But yeah, apart from that, mate, I'm all good.
Yeah, man. If you can't believe in what Ange is doing, mate, get yourself down to the Emirates. And you're more than welcome, Henry. You're more than welcome over here. That's all I'll say, my son. The calculators are away. Sean stopped doing the maths. Deji's now finally realised Spurs can't finish above Arsenal.
Is it conceded?
It's conceded, mate. I mean, they're dusty now. They're dusty. A dusty club, so to call it. Might as well start with a dusty club, and then we're going to talk about Arsenal at Old Trafford. Let's come to you first, Lee, actually, about Spurs, because I must say, I find it quite funny. I'm not going to lie.
Where's Ronnie?
Henry's not one of them, so he gets to sit and chill for this one. But there's a lot of these Spurs fans that do make me laugh. And oh my God, I think we might win the league this year. And it's like October. Oh my God, I think we might get to a stage of it. And I'm thinking, what is this actually happening here? This Ange Postecoglou, I mean, yeah, I've heard of Klopp, but this guy, oh my God, he's better. And then you think, okay, we'll give it time. And then I go on podcasts with these Spurs fans and they start saying to me, well, I don't really see much difference between what Arsenal were doing last year, what Tottenham were doing this year, and this is a title race we're in now. And I'm like, okay. I said, look, your squad is not strong enough. What? It's nearly as good as Arsenal's. Well, it's not, is it? Like, let's be real. Like, you've got a good first 11, and then once a few players get injured, you'll be stuffed. Ange Postecoglou has done a good job. I'm not going to sit there and say that he hasn't, but my goodness, it is becoming a bit of a problem now. Every single set piece is pretty much a penalty. The high line is still there. There's no tactical now at all, in my opinion. I've seen Ben Davies cooked at left back. I've seen now Emerson Royale have even worse of a performance against Liverpool and against Chelsea. And then we've got in midfield, different every single week. I don't know who you're going to play in midfield. You can't get the attack on the midfield right. I've seen a lot of bad things, Henry. I can't lie. And Lee, I've got to say, I don't think Tottenham are like in the mud and all that because, you know, they've actually had an all right season if you think about it. I didn't expect them to get a top 5. I didn't think they'd be chasing Champions League. But is there an issue with Ange Postecoglou and his tactics? And has he got to change things, Lee? Because otherwise it's looking pretty bleak, bro.
Yeah, he's got to change things. He probably knows that as well. Like, you know, whether he will or not, that's down to him. And personally, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Carry on doing what you're doing. Spurs, you know, let's have it. Let's have it right. It's the best start that any team's had, right? And not to qualify for, I'll say it again, not to qualify for the Champions League if they don't qualify, like, you know. That is, that's very, very Spursy, that, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? But listen, I don't know what's going on at Tottenham, and I don't, you know, I actually felt a bit sorry for him on Sunday, like, you know what I mean? And I've had myself checked up. I'm all right. But I just want to put that out there. I'm all right. Doctors give me a full bill of health and I'm okay. But I was watching the game and it was just a matter of time. I just said, it's a matter of time before Liverpool score. It's a matter of time before they go 2-0. It was a matter of time before they... And then when I'm going 4, I'm thinking, oh, my God. I turned it off. I actually turned it off at 4-0 because, like, you know, I didn't want to have a heart attack through laughter or anything like that. But anyway, like, you know, I thought... And then I look back, it's 4-1, 4-2, and you think to yourself, oh, are they going to get back into it? Right, Shawnee boy. And like,
it's all right, mate.
Get back into it. And, you know, I've got to say, Richarlison again pumped a bit of life into him. But at the end of it, you know, I don't know. I think that there's problems there at Spurs at the moment. They've gone 4 now defeats on the spin. You probably, like, when you look at that, you can accept, you know, Newcastle on paper, Newcastle, Arsenal, Liverpool in that run of games. Who's the other one they lost to? Chelsea. Yeah, it's four difficult games. If I'll be really honest, like, you know, 4 difficult games, but it's the way that they've lost them. It's the way that
VAR ruined every single one of them.
It's just, you know, poor good old VAR. But, yeah, and I just think that it's been a. I don't really know the tactics, what was going on with Liverpool, the game against Liverpool. I don't really understand what they were trying to do, because it was just a matter of time before Liverpool scored, and they was having pot shots and whatever. And then I just think that with Spurs at this moment in time, so many players have lost form. And I can tell you this now, we're talking about it today. Madison's got to be looking over his shoulder now for an England squad place, because he's just completely lost his form. And I thought, come on and do something and make something happen. You know what I mean? It's not happening for him for whatever reason. But he ain't got a lot in front of him. And it's sad to see if you're a Spurs fan, but I'll tell you what, look, listen, if they lose to Burnley on Saturday, I honestly think that he's under massive pressure, because you can't go 5-6 games lose a couple at the beginning of the next season, it's on you, isn't it? So I don't really know where Spurs will go after this. I'm pretty sure they beat Burnley, but Burnley, by the way, give Man United a good game a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know.
And they're fighting for their lives. Like,
Well,
if we lose to Burnley, everyone that's not a Levy in or Ange Postecoglou in supporter will be gunning for both of their heads. Like, I don't buy into this narrative. Like Sean will tell you, I'm not a Levy, his biggest fan, but I don't understand how Ange making tactical mistakes can be Daniel Levy's fault. I mean, Lee, we've had numerous debates about the ownership, but we have been, to a degree, tactically found out. And the best managers in the world, Unai Emery's having it at the moment. He's been tactically outclassed by Olympiacos. That they knew the game plan. Every single man for man in that Olympiacos team stuck to the game plan. And now they've parked the defensive line on their flipping penalty area, and they can't break it down. With us, it's the scariest thing is when we got up to that Arsenal game, we had 15 days to prepare for it. We knew Arsenal's strengths, and they completely exposed our weaknesses, which were set pieces. Then you look at the Chelsea game. I don't think Arsenal or Chelsea were at their best. They both beat us. The Newcastle game, we were counter-attacked for practically every single one of those goals, and it was a set piece. But what's not helping us is you got, Sean will tell you, our fan base is probably as divided as it could probably get right now in terms of the opinion of the fans.
No, really?
Unless Ange is
Why
given
do you think that, though? Why do you think that is, though, Henry? Because this is what I don't get. It's always Tottenham brilliant, then we're going to win the league, and then it's Tottenham are rubbish, Levy out.
No one's actually boots on the ground. Like when we beat Liverpool, I did a fan cam on Sean's channel, and I was like, title race, because it was the first time we beat Liverpool in the Premier League in 10 years, or something stupid like that, since 2016 or whatever it is. No one's got boots on the ground, and got to understand, this is the first year with a new manager. Arteta went 9 out of 11, had 9 out of 11 defeats. You look what not you and Lee. Arsenal fans were absolutely gunning for his head. Get rid. All of a sudden, you get rid of the players he doesn't want. You get rid of the players he does want. You get a style of play. You get a system. You start winning games. You've been in 2 title races now. Yes, he hasn't got over the line yet, but the trajectory is going upwards. With us, we've got so many players at this football club that haven't got that much quality and can't play the style of play. Like Emerson Royale. I know it's easy for me to say if that's Destiny Udogie, but if it is Destiny Udogie, both of those goals, in my opinion, don't go in against Mohamed Salah. But then you can also argue that we haven't got quality and just got to change the tactics at times. We're living on this high line. We're living on bringing the centre-backs so high up, inverting the full-backs. The blueprint to beat Tottenham now is sit deep and counter-attack. And it's how Ange goes into next season about how does he adapt to managers setting up for that blueprint. That's when he gets judged for me. Like this season, 5th. Yes, we went out of domestic trophies early, but losing the City, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. But you can, raise a hand for losing to Fulham. But if we finish 5th, I don't think that's a bad season for Spurs. I don't think we're going to go out and have a £250 million window that a lot of Spurs fans think. But one thing I will say is just quickly wrap up this point. Man United and Chelsea will 100% get stronger next season. If Aston Villa make Champions League, they will probably go and do a £150 million window. If we don't have smart recruitment and get rid of some of the deadwood and get players in to play this system, we could be left behind.
Yeah, and I said this earlier on my show. I do believe, looking at things as I do now, Manchester City and Arsenal will probably be up there again. From third to about 12th, I have absolutely no idea. I couldn't predict it. Not a Scooby. I honestly couldn't. I don't know what's going to happen with Liverpool. Man United and Chelsea are going to spend. Are they going to be better? You've just said yes, maybe, maybe not. Tottenham, I think, will definitely improve alongside
Man United
Aston Villa.
can't be worse. They've
Well,
conceded
no,
more shots on goal
you're
than
right.
Sheffield United.
They probably will get a bit better. But I kind of wouldn't be able to predict it, basically, is what I'm saying. So Tottenham have got to. Tottenham 100% have got to, because Tottenham's first 11 isn't bad. You know, you got to go and get like 5 or 6 heads, though, in my opinion. And Sean, I'll come to you because I know, I've listened to your content before, and I know that you don't back Levy and love him like that, but you kind of never really get on his case like some of the Tottenham fans lose their heads about it. I don't really understand why Daniel Levy's being mentioned at the moment, if I'm honest. They don't make any sense to me. The reason Tottenham are not winning football games is not because of Daniel Levy, in my opinion. Because when you were winning them, it wasn't Daniel Levy's fault or praise. There was no praise given to Daniel Levy. So how can it be his fault when you're losing? I don't really get that. And I think Ange Postecoglou just needs to stop being stubborn and actually change some of his ways. And I think also you've got to sort this set piece thing out and understand, and he needs to understand the high line isn't going to work all the time. And I think you got to give him time. He's going to get a window, and you see where Tottenham go again, right?
Yeah. First of all, on Ange, I think you have to give him time. He hasn't got the players he needs yet, and his philosophy is very unique. And so most of the players that we have got, and even the ones that we will get, are still going to have an adaptation period to learn what he needs. Even if you get people that are in the right mold for what he wants out of them, there's still going to be a learning process. So for me, like, you have to let the jelly set. I said it last time. I'll keep saying it. You can't pull the trigger too soon on him, regardless of how the season finishes and regardless of even how next season started. You have to give it time. Most of the time, when you give managers that have credentials enough time, that you do see progress. And I think that you've got to stick with this one more than that. And this was where I think the Levy out kind of, a lot of the people that have that side and they focus on it so much. Tottenham fans have had one owner for 24 years and been so close yet so far for so long. And there's always a need. I think it's a bit of human nature, right? I genuinely think it's human nature to not want to feel sad, to not want to think you were beaten by the better team, or you're just not that good, just not as good as other teams out there. And it's far easier, far more nice of an emotion to be angry. And, after a while, people think the common denominator is Daniel Levy. I personally don't think the common denominator as to why Tottenham are not successful starts and finishes within Tottenham. I think people need to take their Tottenham hats off and zoom out a little bit and look at the other variables, which is money in football. The fact that you had over the last 12 years, 2 teams have won 10 of the Premier League titles that were available, Chelsea and City. 25 years ago, before Levy came in, they were nowhere, and they got to set themselves up, get a head start on everybody else before the rules were in place. Then when the rules were put in place, one of the teams is alleged to have cheated throughout that period for the first 5 years of it. And now the rules are put in place to try and stop it happening again. But ultimately, all you're doing is closing the door after the horse is bolted. And it's very difficult to close the gap. It operates in it's kind of created a caste system, like a 2-tier system of haves and have-nots. And I don't think Tottenham have an owner that's willing to kind of have the right risk appetite. But when it comes to just to kind of merge the 2 points with regard to Ange and Levy, for me, I think that one of the reasons why you have to give Ange time is because Tottenham haven't gone a year without changing a manager since Pochettino in the last 5 years. And every time a new manager comes in, he's going to want his new players. And that requires a new rebuild, every 10 months at the moment. If you give the manager time to get enough of his players in over a 2-year, 4-window period, then you can get to the point where hopefully, if he's showing enough progress, you don't need 9 new players in your squad every year. You only need 1 or 2. And that then, with the money that Tottenham can generate through our club, that then will allow Tottenham to do what they haven't done and what teams like you guys are doing and City have done, which is buy world-class players for £100 million. At the moment, Tottenham can't spend £100 million on a player because you can't do that and also get the other 7 players that you need. If you give Ange time to do it, to get the team in his vision, then in a couple of years' time or in 18 months' time, you might see Tottenham buying a £100 million player to be that difference that can take you to the next level. But if you chop and change and get rid of Ange again and bring in whoever's next, Tuchel or whatever else, it will be another rebuild, another turnover of 10 players. And then you'll be buying £30 million players because the rules don't allow you to spend 300 million quid in one window.
It's a great point that Sean makes here, Dan. And the thing is like £100 million player is not going to go to Spurs at the moment. Like if you said to, I don't know, the next £100 million player, right, come to Spurs. Spurs could be in the mix for it. But ultimately, they're not going to go there. What they want is stability. The reason that Declan Rice has come to Arsenal because he's seen what's going on, and got 2 years before that, he wouldn't have gone to Arsenal. Like he would have said, "Well, no." Like, but now they're seeing what's going on, and they're seeing the build and the project, and they think, "Oh yeah, I want to be a part of that." To get to that, you've got to have that, I suppose, stubbornness that what Arsenal have shown and willingness to back the manager, because that's what's happened with Arsenal now, is that they've now steadied it. And we can not only afford the £1 million player, they want to come, and that's the problem that you've got, because stability is needed. I think that what they've done with Ange has been fantastic. He's got all that good feel factor in there, but now if he's not going to willing to what's the word I'm looking for? Change his, like his principles a little bit. Then Spurs will have to get someone in that's going to go, do you know what? We need someone that's going to be pragmatic with the football and all that, but is also, when we've got other games that we've got to play, he's going to be able to change his system. So I think it's a very, very big summer for Ange. If he continues to keep going down the route that he's going and saying, look, I don't care, this is the way it is, mate, and all that, like, it ain't going to work. And the other thing where it's not going to work is, and Spurs fans will know this, as you guys will know it, they sacked Mourinho before a cup final because he couldn't get Champions League football. It had gone, you know what I mean? Like, if he keeps saying, oh, I'm not bothered about Champions League football, that's another thing that is not going to be wearing too well with the powers be, because Champions League football is very, very important to Spurs and the board and all that, because of the financial thing and all that. So he's starting. I wouldn't say he's, skating.
I kind of rated him for that, though, Lee. I kind of rated him for that, Ange. Because for me, like, it is true what he's saying. I understand what you're saying in terms of, well, Daniel Levy might not like what he's saying, but Ange is actually right. Like, stop talking about qualifying for a competition that we're probably not going to win, man. I want to win stuff. I kind of liked that. I thought that showed a lot of ambition. We hadn't heard that from a Spurs manager in a long time, man. Long time.
No, I agree. It's great, but he's in a position at this moment in time, Dan, where he can do that, where everything's a little bit ropey and all that. Like, listen, I'm not saying that, as I was going to say, I don't think he's skating on thin ice at the moment, but he's a big lad, so hopefully he's not. But what I'm saying is, like, it will get to that stage. It will get to that stage.
The thing is,
we
though,
lose
mate,
to Burnley, I think it will be at that stage if we lose to Burnley.
I don't think it will, though. I feel like he's got I think he's been given enough rope to hang himself, kind of thing, and we'll see what happens. But if Tottenham have the consistent narrative now of, even if Ange doesn't work out in 18 months, 2 years time, then the next managerial cab off the rank at least approaches the football with the same general philosophy, the general kind of front foot approach, where you have, an aggressive style to you, and maybe the next manager will be a little bit more adaptable, a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more considerate of opposition, a little bit more exploitative. But if you give Ange as much as you can and let him rebuild the team in his vision, he's not going to pick players like, the sort of players that he's going to need. He's going to need fast, pacey players. He's going to need players that are brilliant with their passing stats, very few dispossessions, keep the ball, and ultimately can convert. And that's if you're looking in the scout, if the scouts are looking for those sorts of players, whether that's an Eze we go for in the summer, whether that's an Elise, whether that's a Pedro Neto, whoever we're going for in the forward line, those sorts of players are going to be a good fit for the next manager. So you're not, as long as you keep the philosophy, you're not going to have to rebuild the entire thing. But I see next year to be another, like, hopefully better than this one. But you give him the time, you let him figure it out. And even if it doesn't work out, I still think we'll be in a better position to move forward with next to the next manager than we would be if we pivoted and went in a different direction.
What's that? This is a question for both of you, really. What does the next 3 years look like for Spurs for you to be happy? That's what I want to know, because Spurs fans, I never really understand what you're going for. Is it trophies? Is it just top four? Is it where are you going with it? That might sound a patronising question. It's not supposed to. I kind of want to see where it is that Spurs think they'll be in 3 years' time. That's a genuine question.
For me to be happy as a Spurs fan, we need to have signed 2 forwards who can contribute a significant amount of GA, be competing in the Champions League, and I don't mean obviously going to the quarterfinals and semi-finals, but be in the Champions League, or to have won. If we're not in the Champions League, let's say next season we get in the Europa League, we have to win something, because if Ange Postecoglou would be, let's say he's here for another 3 years, would be 4 years down the line then with Ange, probably would have spent close to 500 million with all the summer windows and the winter windows building up. He has to have won something. The only other manager that we've had for that period of time in recent time is Poch. And he got to, a final in his first year, Champions League final, FA Cup semis, and we were in a title race. So the expectations have to be similar. I'm not saying that we're going to be as strong as Man City and Arsenal, but there's no reason why we couldn't go and win an FA Cup. We've seen how bad Chelsea are this season, and they've made a final and a semi-final. It just depends on the number one thing is the recruitment. If we go and spend 500 million quid on absolute toilet like we have in the last 10 years on a lot of players, then Andrew's got no chance. Sean is right. We need to essentially not adopt an Ajax model, but something similar where it doesn't matter who the manager coming in, like Brighton did. They had attractive football under Graham Potter. They brought in a De Zerbi. That needs to be a kind of similar thing with us, where if Ange does go in...
I think the recruitment has got better, though, Henry. Like, let's be real.
It has, but in terms of the forwards, mate...
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Bentancur and Kulusevski come in, Udogie's come in, Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero...
Now the problem is, Dan, 75% of the squad is practically up for sale. That's all the room.
Yeah, but that's because this is the first pivot, and hopefully the last pivot from a system that was pragmatic, where we jump in from pillar to post, from Pochettino to Mourinho to Nuno to Conte, so many different styles, with no consistency, and so you're always going to have square pegs in round holes if you then viciously and violently pivot from one to the entire opposite. And players like Bentancur, players like Bissouma, they're very good players on paper, but they are massive square pegs in round holes for this system. So, like I said, for me, I don't expect us to win a trophy. I mean, I'd love us to get to a final, and obviously after that, it's coin flip, see what happens. But I don't expect Ange to be at the club in 3 years, but I hope he's still here in 2. He's never been here, never been anywhere longer than 3 years. But as long as he puts in the right foundation building blocks for a consistent theme going forward, then you hand over the baton to the next manager. He comes on, and hopefully 80% of the players we have will be a good fit. You look at Arsenal, just last thing I'll say, Arsenal gone through massive transition under the Arteta, a lot of money spent. I don't think you'd be in the title race this year if it wasn't for Declan Rice. And I don't think you're going to win the title. Obviously, you know how I feel about that. But if you go and get an Alex Isak this summer, I think that could be, and you keep all of the rest of your squad, I think that is the difference that makes you go that gets you that extra 5 points that you might need and the extra 10 goals, as long as you don't lose players. And that's only possible because of the consistency of what Arteta's wanted. Arteta's had, he's been backed. And when you don't need to go and buy 10 new players, Arsenal don't need to spend 300 million in the summer. You can spend 100, whatever it costs to get Isak and whoever the other player is that you're looking at. 150 million quid is a reasonable budget for a team like Arsenal, but you're going to get the final pieces of the puzzle. And that started, the where you are now started with belief in Arteta through the rough times. So any Tottenham fan that wants to throw in the towel on Ange already, it's like we're going round and round in circles as a football club and a fan base. You have to give something enough time just to see how it goes.
Do you know, I honestly think at the moment, Chelsea believe in Poch more. I think the fans now are believing in Poch more than a large portion of our fan base believes in Ange. Look at the season they've had. And they potentially could, if we have a massive downward spiral, they could finish above us.
They're on the up now, Chelsea now, aren't they? That's the difference is that I hear what you're saying, Harry, but Chelsea are having their good spell at the end of the season, where Spurs had theirs at the beginning. Like, you know what I mean? That's the one. It was a great point that Sean makes here. Is like a couple of years ago, Arsenal brought in players like Ben White, like Ramsdale, like maybe even Odegaard to a certain degree. to elevate them into the champ from that 6th to 8th to 4th. Now they're buying players to win the league or challenge for the league, and that's the difference. Like, you know what I mean? Like Kai Havertz and Declan Rice were bought to challenge the league. Next season, we'll buy another couple of players, as you say, to try and push us again. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the difference you have. If you keep, but you need those players. You need those Ben Whites that have gone on and stayed there. But you need them at that stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need the Gabriels and that, like, to be in there at that stage, and then develop and get better so they can push on. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think that's something that Tottenham and other teams have got to recruit. I think this is a thing where Manchester United have gone wrong on. Like, Manchester United have gone and bought
Anthony.
Yeah, they've gone and bought Anthony. They've gone and bought Casemiro in the midfield that are there and they're ready now. But they're not so much Anthony, but you know what I mean? Like 1-2 years and they're done. You know what I mean?
And Casemiro, you mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, great signings 2 years ago, but if you want it for the long term, Casemiro's not your man. You've got to go in there with young, hungry players like Arsenal have done, and then build from there, like, you know, and build a base. And I think that the trouble with these teams at the moment is you've got Newcastle going to be doing that, Aston Villa, as you said, Tottenham, Chelsea. I think Chelsea are only 1 or 2 players away from being not a title winning side, but a challenging for the Champions League, like, you know. So it's a really a difficult fit. I also think with Man United, safe in Man United, like Højlund up front, like I persevere with him. It's the same with that Jackson. You know, he's raw, misses chance after chance, but he's on the end of chances. I think that those 2 guys will get better. I look at certain players at Man United, I don't think they're going to get better. And then I look at Tottenham, and a big problem with Tottenham is going to be, right, what do they do with Song? He's coming to that stage now where he might be going over the top. I think Johnson's one that you look into potential that can come in there. Richarlison, I don't really know what's going to happen there. You're talking a lot of money.
I think you got to sell Son. Like, me and Sean have had this debate nearly hundreds of times. He's 30, nearly 32. He's got a year left on his deal. I mean, the most important part of his game is the pace and the finishing. If he's going to be playing this striker role, I don't see it. In an Ange system, he's been swallowed up. On the left-hand side, he's being swallowed up. I think I think in a Pochettino system, if he was 32, when the players are so wide and you get into one-on-one situations a lot more, he'd be perfect. But because of how direct we are and the fact that we try to overload the opposition side so much, Son finds himself a lot of the time on the edge of the box. Well, we know in his best attribute is running through on goal and one-on-one with a keeper, and his finishing's probably up there with the top 5 wingers in the world. But a year left on his contract. I think I said this to Sean yesterday, the day before. If a Saudi bid come in, which we know, I mean, imagine if he goes to Saudi. I mean, Jesus, it would be one of the, because of his following, it'd be massive over there.
It makes so much sense to cash in on him. Like,
Yeah,
Tottenham are not going to have that much money this summer. I know. And again, Tottenham fan. Back to your initial question, Dan. Why are Tottenham fans so Levy out? A lot of them don't take the time. No disrespect to them. I don't expect people to be above the finances all the time. It's boring stuff. But a lot of them don't really have the interest in looking at the rules around FFP, looking at the numbers, and then doing some math and kind of going, well, how much money is realistic? And if you go and spend close to whatever the realistic number is, but it's not 300 million quid, then they think that the manager hasn't been backed. And to me, when Tottenham are outside of the Champions League for 2 years, it doesn't matter if you have a couple more concerts at the stadium, you know, and you have a full up season ticket roster. At the end of the day, you're still going to be limited to 120 million pound salary, 120 million pound budget. And if you're going to get 4 or 5, 6, 7 players that Ange is alluding to, that doesn't allow much wiggle room. So where are you going to get the money from if not from the budget? Well, you have to sell players. How much money are you going to get for players like Brian Hill and Ben Davies, you know, and Højbjerg? Like half of Europe, the teams that are going to be interested in buying our kind of Dross Deadwood players, they haven't got any money either. Like the teams that have money are teams that don't want Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Bissouma. So, you know, if you want to get that budget up to 250 million, you might have to sell one of your favorite players and might have to have an uncomfortable conversation. Liverpool did it with Coutinho. Sonny at 31 isn't getting any younger. Increasingly in this system, he doesn't fit the model as a number 9. He doesn't play back to goal very well. Out wide, he's not that great anymore. He's lost a half a yard of pace. I know he still bangs in 20 GA a year, and it's going to be a tough sell to the crowd and to Daniel Levy, given how much money he brings in from the Korean lot. But ultimately, if you don't sell him now, you're never going to sell him. And there's 70 million quid there in a player. And if you sell Richarlison as well, there's 110 million pound that you can add to your budget. And then, as Lee was alluding to, go and buy those young players. Go and buy a Benjamin Sesko. Go and buy a Santiago Jimenez. Build your future for the next 5 years around some 21-year-olds rather than hanging
100%.
on to a 31-year-old for sentimentality's sake.
100%. Like Tottenham need to look at their front line, and also I think you need to look at your midfield as well. You clearly need another fullback cover. That's clear, right? But when you look at the midfield, honestly, I didn't think your midfield was that bad. Basuma, Bentancur, and Maddison. I've hardly seen them play together, and it's changed from chopping and changing every single week. It doesn't seem like for whatever reason he wants to play that Lo Celso. I know he's a bit cack, but you got to play Maddison or Lo Celso. You can't play a flat 3. I couldn't believe he was doing that. So there's a lot of problems. But Tottenham, essentially, nothing has shocked me this season with Spurs, other than your start was very good. I knew you were going to fall off because I knew your squad wasn't there. It was obvious. And he did have a lot of injuries. You got hurt by him, to be fair. It was actually quite depleted at one stage. And I was just like, well, that's definitely killed you off now. There's like no chance, you know what I mean? And, you know, Maddison was killing it. And, you know, Kai Havertz has now overtaken him because Maddison's just fallen off a cliff. I don't know what's happened to him. I don't know what's happened. He's just been ridiculous.
How much money have you lost in that bet?
Oh, yeah, 100 quid to charity now, but there we go. At least it's charity. But yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. But listen, we'll see. Big window for you, but also a big window for us, and a big weekend for us judges. Old Trafford, mate. In 2006, we beat them, and in 2020 COVID season, we beat them. Otherwise, we ain't beaten them since then. That's not a good record, but I've never been so confident going into this game because they are a shambles, mate. And if we do not beat them, it is a disgrace. And I'm so confident that we're going to beat them. I actually am going to stick my chest out, and I think we're going to hurt them. I actually do. I think we're going to hurt them this weekend. I think I'm not going to say 8-2s and 6-1s and all that like it was before, but I do think this could be a real thriller in terms of Arsenal. I think we can really dominate and really hurt them. They are a poor outfit, mate. I watched them against Palace and I thought that was an absolute disgrace. I've never seen a team so bad in a long time. They were absolutely awful. They've got no centre-backs fit. Casemiro, they don't know. I saw on Staffy's show earlier, he doesn't know who's going to play at the back. It's Casemiro and somebody from the reserves, apparently. Or it might have to be like a Wan-Bissaka or something, because they've got nobody fit. The young I can't say his name, beginning with K, he's injured. So is Maguire, so Evans. So they've got literally no one, mate. So this could be a whitewashing, judges. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, listen, they've got to change Casemiro. He cannot play at centre half. Wherever it is, they'll have to bring a left back in or a right back in or someone there. They have to change that because if they do, they will get pumped. Like McTominay, I think might be available. Even stick him there, like, you know. But if they play Casemiro, like, you know, like fill your boots, it will be fill your boots time. What the trouble with Man United, I watched them the other day against Crystal Palace, and they have a defensive unit, and then like they have the forward unit, and then the midfield have got 30, 40, 50 yards to run it to work around, like. And what happened was, you know, if they play that system, that'll play to our strengths because Odegaard and Declan Rice will have the freedom of the midfield. They don't really want to run. I know that sounds bad, but they don't. You know what I mean? They would be like happy if it was walking football. Like, they really don't want to work their socks off at this moment in time. And you can't have that from a Man United team. I have not seen a worse Man United team than this in the Premier League. I have not. You know what I mean? And I don't think I've seen a worse. I can't remember this being a worse Man United team in my lifetime, really. Like, I know that they was poor in the 70s and all that. I don't really remember that. Like, they still won a cup and had some decent games. But even like 80s, they had like decent players like Norman Whiteside, Frank Stapleton, Brian Robson. They had some players, you know what I mean? And always were up there and thereabouts. But this moment in time, the fall from them, by the way, is worse than Arsenal's. I don't think when Arsenal were at their worst, they weren't as bad as this. I know they've got injuries and everything like that, but the fall of Man United has been a fall harder than Chelsea, ourselves. Tottenham have gone in the past. You know, like to finish 8th or 9th. That, you know, honestly, Dan, if they don't win the FA Cup, they might not be in Europe, right? And I'll tell you what, if that's the same team that's going to go out in the FA Cup fight, I'll tell you what, like, get your record books out, like, because it's going to, and take some photos on at the TV, because it's going to be like a history-breaking FA Cup, because they will smash them out of sight. And Arsenal, if they play that team there, let's be really honest, Arsenal should smash them. But don't work like that, as we know. I think it's going to be a tough game. And I'm going to say this now, Dan, really. If Arsenal get more than 4, right, he cannot survive. Even with a cup final, I don't see how he can survive. So it'd be really interesting to see how the players respond to this. Are they going to be prepared to work? I think this will show everything you need to know about old Mr. Ten Hag, whether he's got the dressing room or not. Because if they don't run around against Arsenal like they didn't run around against Palace, they should have been beaten by Burnley, by the way. Burnley were the better team, drew 1-1. But they was a better team, and if they took their chances, Burnley, they would have won that game, right? If they don't do that, I would be saying, well, we just you know, we better, you know, bite the bullet now, like, you know what I mean, like. But
well, you know what's mad? I went on to Staffy's channel previous show, and he said, "What's your prediction?" And I've gone 4-0. I think Arsenal win 4-0, right? And I wasn't being arrogant, cocky. I was just confident and trying to be realistic. And most people, if I went onto a show or Man United show and said, I think we won 4-0, most of them would go, bloody hell, no way. Oh, my God, are you deluded? And he went, yeah, sounds about right. That's how bad they are at the moment. He was like, agreeing that they're going to get pumped.
I hear what you're saying, but I cannot see them being like that against it. I really can't. You know, even at our worst, you know,
their midfield, though, Lee, like, let's be real, they're going to have Eriksen in there trying to hold alongside Bruno and Mainu, by the way, good player, but he's dropped off a cliff.
That's if Bruno's fit as well.
That's if Bruno's fit. Rashford's back and so is Martinez, but they're not going to start, they don't reckon. So it's Anthony, Garnacho and Højlund. At the back, they've got Casemiro, who's apparently going to play because there's no one else, and there's no one even next to him at the moment. Like you say, McTominay might have to do something. And then you've got Wan-Bissaka and Dalot.
Is Evans not fit? Evans not fit?
He went off in the Palace game.
He went off at the Palace game, so he's not fit either. So there's literally nobody at the back. And that Kabawala guy, he's out as well. So they've got Maguire, so they've got nobody, mate. I honestly
Ten Hag's at fault for all these injuries. Like, you can't have, what is it, 32 or 34 injuries? Clearly, the intensity of the training sessions is absolutely ridiculous. But the training schedule is clearly messed up.
You don't want to be rushed back, like, you know, like there's a couple of them. Martinez could be, as you're saying, like, or Harry Maguire, for instance. You don't want to be rushed back for a league game, which against Arsenal or Newcastle, and then like that puts you out of the FA Cup final. You know what I mean? Like, if you're, I don't know, Varane, like, you know what I mean? There's another one that's just come up there, like, you know, if well, yeah, I do want to have a game before that, but I'd rather have a game next week. You know, like the cup final.
Last game of the season, warm up.
Yeah, you don't want to be playing now and then like coming back and then breaking down again and then being out for the cup final. So it's a very precarious position that they're in. Like that. I heard also that Bruno missed the game against Palace because of a wrist injury.
Yeah, it's his hand that's injured. I don't know. It's his hand that's injured, apparently. Arm, apparently.
What's he been doing?
I don't know, mate. It's a worry. It's a worry.
Do you know what this Man United game, in terms of like 11 available, is kind of like David versus Goliath, because that Man United team is torn to shreds, and you are in very, very good form. The only thing I'm going to say is the games that Manchester City have played first in the Premier League so far this season, Arsenal have gone on to drop or lose points in every single game where Man City have played first. Right? So far, to my knowledge. I could be wrong, but if Man City go and absolutely destroy Fulham like they did Wolves, it kind of it also adds an extra layer of pressure on you lot. The other side of it is if Fulham somehow get a result,
it's more pressure then.
It's even more pressure. And if that pressure is added on, I mean, this Man United team, I mean, Crystal Palace weren't even an 8 or a 9 out of 10. They were just brilliant in the final third. Eze Elise and John Fleet Mateta, who I think before this season averaged about 8 goals a season, is
The
now in
lamppost.
the lamppost up front.
Was it the lamppost you called him? Was that you?
Double
Henry,
digits. If you don't win this game, like I know you haven't got a great record at Old Trafford, but they are diabolical.
Yeah, I agree with Henry.
If Arsenal, if the unthinkable happens, right, and Fulham get something against Man City, to play that Man United team and Everton at home to win the league, if you cannot get that over the line, then there's got to be questions asked. You know
Serious questions got to be asked.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the worst Man United team in Premier League history that you're going up against, and it's Everton at home with all the problems that they've got. They're just realistically, if I'll be really honest, and I'm a big fan of Sean Dyche, they just want to get the game over and they just want to get on holiday. You know what I mean? Really, like, it's been a dramatic season for them. You couldn't ask for two better games to have if you're going to play Man United and Everton. Come on, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think there's a bit of pressure on Manchester City for the first time because they know that if they win this one, I think they know it's done as well. So,
do you know what else? So, someone brought up something earlier on the Football Terrace that Liverpool have had, I think it's 98 shots in the 3 games against Man United this season, and that they've failed to beat Man United this season, and Man United knocked them out of the cup as well. The difference is Arsenal's front line at the moment is in far better form than Liverpool's front line. Diaz can't hit a barn door. Darwin Núñez couldn't score in a brothel. At the moment, the only forward you've really got who's out of form, I think we can all agree, is Gabriel Martinelli and Jesus. But the way Havertz is playing, the way Trossard is playing, and Saka doesn't need to be at his best to affect the game, you could if you can go 3-0 up against us, you could be 5-0 up at half time. They are that bad. Genuinely. Yeah. And all these United fans are saying, oh, Bruno Fernandes isn't important. When he's actually played in the 10 role under Ten Hag, he's been brilliant this season. But otherwise he's playing as a deep line playmaker. He's played on the wing. He's played as a false 9. He is the only one that can cause you problems, in my opinion. Because Rashford, he might as well be another lamppost just out on the wing. He's absolutely useless, that bloke. I mean, yeah.
Been saying it for a while. Some people want him at Arsenal. I wouldn't touch him with an apps. Honestly,
it's only because they're seeing what you've done with Havertz, and you've kind of given him a bit of life. There is a player in Rashford, but he's
he's going to be the biggest anchor on Manchester United's rebuild. What's he earning? 350 grand a week. Yeah. He's still got 4 years left on his contract. Who on God's green earth is going to take him? He's under no requirement to leave and pick up like half the salary somewhere else. No. Best case scenario, if the new manager doesn't want him, is they're going to sell him or loan him out for a couple of years and have to pick up 50% of his wages. He's going to be a massive anchor on that club's rebuild.
Yeah, I totally agree with Sean. Totally agree with you. I've never really got the bloke either, really. I think he's a very good player, but he's not Mbappe like Man United said. That's all I'm saying. Let's come with some predictions, people, for this game. Sean, let me come to you first, bruv. What are you saying for the might as well do both games, to be fair. Do your game and then do the Old Trafford game.
Tottenham Burnley, I'm gonna say I think it's got to be some sort of reaction here. I'm gonna say 3-1 Tottenham. Nervy. And for United Arsenal, 3-0 Arsenal.
Okay, Henry.
Yeah, Sean's right. We've got to get something out of it. 2-1 Spurs. Burnley will score guaranteed because we can't keep clean sheets. And I mean, it's definitely worth a punt on an accumulator, this one, isn't it? 4-1 Arsenal.
Okay. Judges?
2-1. Tottenham. I think it'll be a tough game, but I think that Spurs will get over the line on this one. I think if Burnley don't fail to win, they can't survive. So I think that Burnley are down there, as far as I'm concerned. But I think Spurs will win that one. And then Arsenal win 2-0.
Interesting, man. I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs, and I am going to stick with it. I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal. I honestly believe this could be a pretty easy game for us. I just don't see how we don't beat them, if I'm honest. Comfortably.
You know what I was saying earlier, Dan?
Terrible.
Just quickly, sorry to cut you off about Villa. Them going out tonight doesn't do you boys any favours, because if Villa now have only got 2 games to focus on, they're going to put everything in to try and get Champions League, like they would anyway. But if they would have got through and they would have rested players in the Liverpool game on Monday night, and you think Liverpool, they've just put 4 past us, could quite easily beat Villa, and we beat Burnley, it narrows the gap down to 4 points. We go into that City game with something to play for. Now the fact that Villa are going out of the Conference League is they're currently 5-2 down an aggregate to an Olympiacos team. The only player that anyone actually recognises is Podence from Wolves. Other than that, they've got Chiquinho, who's the number 6, but playing in the 10 role, right? Yeah, they're going crashing out to that. Now it pretty much
poor, isn't it? It's poor as well, because we all laughed at West Ham winning that. My God, like Villa, I thought they were going to walk that Conference League.
Villa's next 2 games, guys. Let's be really honest about it. Yeah, Liverpool at home.
And Palace, who were playing well.
Palace away, who are in form.
They're losing both.
I don't think they get any points from them.
No, I don't. I think they'll lose both as well.
I think they'll lose both games. So
what do you think there's more chance of? Villa losing both games, or Tottenham somehow getting the 9 points and finishing above them?
Might not need it, mate. If United lose to Arsenal, if United beat Arsenal, we can beat Man City or draw against Man City, and that Man City can still win the league. So there's still multiple ways that this can be.
No, do you know what we need?
Incentivized.
We need City to beat Fulham 7-0. Improve the
you need to win, but you need to win. Spurs need to win all 3 games, don't they? Really, they can't afford
with the
because of the goal average, unless Liverpool hit their shooting boots. I honestly think I'm going to be really honest with you. I honestly think Liverpool will beat Aston Villa. All right, because the pressure's off at Liverpool, and I think pressure's on them, and that bloody hell, Roma are winning 2-0.
Roma are 2-0.
Yeah, Daniele De Rossi masterclass.
Bloody hell, that means it's level on aggregate then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's worth a watch. Yeah. So you beat Burnley, you're only 3. Then you're 4 points off of them, right? And then you've got to get something from Manchester City if you want Champions League football. So, listen, it ain't all doom and gloom for you Spurs fans. That's all I'm saying.
You say we're having this conversation where you could overlay that kind of algorithmic graphic, where it's like all the kind of maths are going through, trying to work out the connotations, and then we go and get spanked 3-0 by Burnley.
Can you imagine? No, I must say.
Well, if they lose to Burnley, I hope you get relegated.
What's worse, us losing to Burnley or you losing to Man United?
Probably.
Listen,
probably.
I'll be very hurt. I don't know how Dan feels about this. I'll be very, very hurt if we don't take it to the last game of the season.
Oh God, it'd be a disgrace if we don't beat Man United. That is a disgrace.
Yeah, I'll be hurt. I'll be hurt to go all that way and then to lose to a piss poor Man United team. You know what I mean? No, I'm not having that.
That is disgraceful if that happens, mate.
So I expect Arsenal to put it to the. Listen, whatever. It's up. The players will want Champions League football. I know, the players will, you know what I mean. But I still don't think that Tottenham are good enough to get something against it. That's my opinion. Whether they're going to throw it or not, I don't know. But listen, the other scenario that no one's ever thought of and no one's ever talking about, then, right, is that Fulham beat Man City and then Spurs come along and beat Man City, and we've won the league. We won the league at Spurs new ground. Come on, be unbelievable.
That would be, man. That would be. Listen, to wrap up, I want to do the young player of the year and player of the year thing very quickly because there's a lot of debate about this and there's a lot of hoo-ha about it. For me, the player of the year and the young player of the year, I'm fine it being separated, but you can't have 4 in both of the categories, in my opinion. You've got Haaland, Foden, Isak, and Palmer that are in both. How does that make sense for one?
How can Foden, at 24 years of age,
being the
of
young
160 Premier League appearances,
and Isak
be in the young player? It's ridiculous, man.
I look at it and I think like Lewis Miley deserves a mention. Your Andy
Where's
Gordon deserves
Rodri?
a mention.
How is Rodri not
Rodri's not
nominated?
even in player of the season. Like, that is a shocker. And do you know who else? And I'm not saying this just because I'm biased because he's been phenomenal. Gabriel needs to be in the defender situation, in my opinion.
No,
So
there's a lot of Van Dijk over
Van Dijk over Gabriel
and Mickey van der Ven, and I think he's been good Van Dijk this season, but I think he's living on his name on that. I don't, you know, I mean,
the last 6 weeks he's fallen off a cliff like Liverpool have, and I understand how good he was. And if Liverpool would have done something, then he might have.
Yeah, I get that.
It's mad, but all I was gonna say, really, the young player of the year. My question was going to be, you cannot be in there, in my opinion, when you're 24-year-old. Kobe Minu is in there, right? People were like going mental about it. You know, he was 10 years old when Isak made his debut, and Isak's in the same category as
him. No, it's all wrong. It's all wrong.
If Cole Palmer don't win it, the award is a complete disgrace.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not win young
I think it'll be Foden and Palmer, won't it? That'll be who wins it. That'll be
just a PR contest. Who cares about individual awards? Like Kevin De Bruyne has never won Premier League Player of the Month. How is that even possible?
Well, Ange won London Manager of the Month a year. You know what I mean? There you go. He's
London Manager of the year after playing for 4 months.
Yeah, I don't listen to all that. It's a load of old crap. It's good for PR, but and also I think that Foden wins it if they win the league, and Rice wins it if Arsenal win the league. That's how
I agree with that. Yeah, that'll be happening. Even though Rodri, who hasn't lost a game in over a year, doesn't even get put forward. I can't believe it.
68 games without a defeat.
That is shocking, isn't it? He don't even get put up for it. I mean, what is going on there? That is a shambles, isn't it? Really, that is a shambles. But yeah, anyone disagree then? Foden and Palmer, are we agreed on that? That's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah. If it goes to the thing, I think.
Even though there's about 9 different Player of the Year awards now, by the way.
Oh, I can't even know.
Again, if Arsenal win the league, then Saliba would probably nick it.
It's well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Lee VFTB Sports said earlier, I think we lost the league at home to Villa. I kind of agree, and I know that there's games left. Do you think Fulham can do the unthinkable and then make this super chat go away to say, yeah, actually, no, we didn't. We've won it.
I
don't think so. I don't think so. I think
I don't think so. I'd like to think so. I don't think we lost it against Villa. Villa are a top side, top team in Champions League places. Fourth in the league. Fulham at home, Fulham away. They're the 2 games for me.
And West Ham as well.
West Ham. You always have one. I think the West Ham game, we had so many shots and all that. But I've actually walked out of the stadium once this season, thinking we deserve to lose, and that was Fulham away. And that's what that's the game that I look back and go, do you know what? We didn't turn up on that day. I think when you look at Newcastle, I know that Sean's favourite thing, VAR. I think could have gone our way, couldn't have gone our way. Aston Villa, we had enough luck in that game. We played quite well against Aston Villa. Didn't happen on that day there. For me, West Ham, another day we win 3 or 4-0 or 6-0. And then, but that Fulham game, we deserve what we got out of that game, in my opinion, which was absolutely nothing. And for me, I think, as Adam says, 1 point versus Fulham and Aston Villa, we got 1 point against Fulham. And when you look back at that Fulham game, we was 2-1 up when they had 10 men. So those games, yeah.
Well, Fulham at home was a joke, like you said, Lee. The 10-men one. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, how the hell have we drew this game? So, yeah, Fulham, mate, you can't do that. But, you know, LB was trying to rattle me the other week on my channel, and I just weren't having it. When he, oh, well, it's Man City. You lost the league at the Etihad. And I'm thinking, God, they're so rattled. They didn't beat
That's
us.
a great point. That's a great point.
Aston Villa at home, second half, they battered us. No excuses. We were terrible. West Ham at home, all the chance in front of goal, couldn't put them away. Yeah. Fulham, likewise, we went there, went 1-0 up, crumbled. So they're the ones we're looking at, 100%. And it's mad because you just think, even without looking at those games we've drew at Stamford Bridge, how the hell did we draw to Chelsea? It was shocking. You know what I mean? At Stamford Bridge. And, you know, there's been many this season that we look at again, and we always will do. But having said that, Manchester City, we could go to 89 points and not win the league. That's apart from 90 points, we went invincible. That's the highest we've ever got. And won the league. So 89, it's not exactly a shocking end, is it? And we ain't been enough. So listen,
lovely number, though. Lovely number, Ben. Lovely number. Like
89 is a good number.
I'm clutching.
What a year that was. What a year that was.
I'm clutching.
We're not going to speak to you lads until the Tottenham Man City game. So do we think you could do the unthinkable?
No, let's have a little prediction round. What are we going to say for that, like? What's the predictions, boys?
Tottenham 0, Man City 4. We're going to get hammered. We are going to get absolutely hammered.
I think it'll be 3-0, but go on.
I'll take 4-0. So there you go.
I think it'll be 4-0 at half time, and then we'll find a way to get back into it.
Is this true? Is this true that the Spurs fans are going to be coming out in their retro Man City shirts?
Singing Blue Moon the whole way through.
Blue Moon instead of when the Saints is being barred and it's Blue Moon. Is this correct? Like, and what I'm hearing, like
maybe not to that degree, but
I want us to win. If we beat Burnley, I want us to win. I don't care about Arsenal. I really don't. I don't care. I don't know many Arsenal fans. I think you're the only 2 Arsenal fans that I know. So I'll tolerate whatever happens. I want Tottenham to play in the Champions League. If Aston Villa beat Liverpool,
then you don't.
And that's this weekend, isn't it? Then I think obviously that's it. That's it kind of done. Yeah, that's it kind of done, right? So
if Villa lose, you want to beat Man City.
If Villa win Monday night, are you?
Yeah, no, I don't care. I probably wanted to go to the game.
I get exactly what Sean's saying.
No, I get what Sean's saying as well. I do. I get what Sean's saying.
Henry
don't care. Henry just wants Arsenal
not to win it, though, boys. I've got to ask you for a different bet. Next season, I know we've got all summer or whatever to figure this out, but how many weeks is Henry and I going to be on top of the shelf, on the top shelf next season? What's the market? I want to have a bet. £10 a week or something.
I'll tell you what, I'll go with
0. You think 0 weeks?
They might set off first then, like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Angel have his high line back up. Set piece will be fine.
Like 2. So I think I'm going to go 2 weeks. 2 weeks, maybe.
2 weeks on the top shelf. That's it. Wow. Okay.
What did you have this season? You had about 4 or 5, didn't you?
10, didn't we? We
were up there. We didn't start the show until about November, did we? So, you know, it's interesting that, isn't it? It's interesting that, Henry. We wait until Tottenham just get injured before the invite to start the show comes in, and we only get about a week and a half at the top before.
When our title race for the first 10 weeks is completely ignored, wasn't it?
But you know what's made it even better is that when we went up top, we've stayed there, boys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's been none of this jumping up and down with Bosch. You know what I mean? The calculators come out, maths and all that, like, Bosch, done.
Big up, man. Listen, big up to everybody for being here. Big up for your super chats, all of your comments, all of your interaction. Please make sure you're doing me a favor and smashing a like on this and you're subscribing. Come and follow all the channels as well. Football's 12th Man, Spurs Talk Show, Henry Talks Football. And of course, make sure you're liking and subscribing here as well. Lee, I'll let you see us out, bro.
Yeah, listen, have a lovely week. And listen, North London is together. Have a good one.